the worst lie your family made you tell? When my 14-year-old sister Stella got pregnant, my parents forced me to wear a fake belly and pretend the baby was mine because they said her future mattered more than mine ever would. My parents had built their entire identity around being the perfect family with 2 accomplished daughters headed for Ivy League schools. Mom ran the church youth group while dad served as deacon, and they paraded my perfect sister Stella around at every congregation event. When Stella came home from church camp sobbing and pregnant, I watched my parents' carefully constructed world shatter before they decided to rebuild it on my back. They called me into Stella's room where she lay curled up, looking so young it made my chest hurt. "You're 17, and you already dress like a whore," Mom said, stroking Stella's hair while the kid shook with tears. "But Stella's only 14 with her whole future ahead of her. You're going to wear this belly and tell everyone you're pregnant?" She pulled out the foam padding, and I stared at my little sister, remembering how I taught her to ride a bike and felt fury battle with protectiveness. "She needs a doctor," I said. "She's 14 and pregnant. She could die." Dad's face went cold. "The only thing dying here is your selfishness. Put on the belly," Stella whispered. "I'm sorry," but wouldn't meet my eyes. I tried reasoning first, suggesting we could say Stella was sick and needed homeschooling while I finished my senior year. Dad responded by destroying my laptop with my college essays and scholarship applications and said teen moms don't need those. Next, I went to my school counselor, but when I started explaining, Mom had already called ahead claiming I was pregnant and in denial. The counselor offered me prenatal vitamins and adoption pamphlets. I wrote an anonymous tip to child services about a 14-year-old being denied medical care, but Mom intercepted it and locked me in my room for 3 days until I promised to stop making trouble. The padding grew heavier as they adjusted it weekly to match Stella's real progression. I snuck into Stella's room one night and found her crying, terrified about giving birth. "We could run away together," I whispered, holding her. "Get you real help," but she just sobbed harder. "Mom says if anyone finds out about what he did to me, they'll say I wanted it." The father was a 23-year-old camp counselor who'd groomed and raped my little sister, and now our parents were holding both of us hostage rather than bring him to justice. I took photos of Stella's real belly while she slept, planning to take them to the police, but Dad caught me. He didn't yell. Instead, he drove me to the roughest part of town at 2 a.m. and left me there. "Walk home," he said. "Think about how much worse things can get for girls who don't listen." It took me 4 hours in the dark, terrified and alone, clutching my fake belly like a teddy bear. After that night, I knew my next plan had to be smarter. I contacted a cousin who'd escaped our family years ago and begged for help. She agreed to drive down and get both Stella and me during the birth when our parents would be distracted. For weeks, I kept her updated, sending her money so she could help me and Stella get an apartment, and promised Stella we'd keep her baby together somewhere safe. When she went into labor, Dad drove, and Mom coached Stella through contractions in the backseat, and I texted my cousin the hospital name. But we arrived to find my cousin already there, sitting with my parents' pastor. "Your mom called me last week," my cousin said without meeting my eyes. "She reminded me about my own mistakes at 17. I think you girls need your parents' wisdom." The betrayal felt like drowning. My parents smirked at me as they watched my last hope get crushed. Stella delivered a healthy girl despite her age, and my parents made her sign papers putting her up for adoption, without even letting Stella hold her. Stella was too weak from blood loss to even understand what was happening until it was too late. The next morning, she sobbed when she realized her baby was gone forever. "I named her Grace," she told me, her body shaking. My parents forced me to pretend the baby I'd supposedly delivered had been stillborn because they didn't want the adoption gossip. I wore black and accepted casseroles from church ladies while Stella recovered alone and hidden away. The town treated me like broken glass, whispering about the teenage mother who'd lost her child as punishment for her sins. I moved through the days like a ghost, working at a grocery store where customers either avoided my eyes or stared with pity. Every night I heard Stella crying through the walls, mourning the daughter she'd never hold again. I started community college in January, driving an hour each way so I could escape my family without abandoning Stella. She went back to school too, thinner but maintaining her perfect grades while I bagged groceries until midnight to afford textbooks. We barely spoke anymore because looking at each other meant remembering Grace. Then in March, Stella started throwing up at breakfast. Mom found the pregnancy test in her trash and called me home from work. The counselor had threatened her, saying he'd expose the truth behind her pregnancy unless she met with him. And then he forced himself on her again. "So you'll put the belly back on," Dad said, like we were discussing weather. "Tell everyone you got pregnant again. Stupid girls do that all the time." I stared at them, these people who would protect a predator to save their reputation, and their twisted vision of Stella's unspoiled future. I refused. Mom said, "Then we'll tell everyone you forced Stella to lie about being raped because you were jealous. Who will they believe? The godly parents or the slutty teen mom?" Full story on the channel below.